Hello, Kamato Class! Welcome back sa isa na namang pagtuklas ng aralin sa mathematics. If we divided the distribution into 10 equal parts like what is being presented, and we use this formula, d sub k is equal to k over 4 times the quantity n plus 1. That means to say we are solving for Our topic is measure opposition for ungrouped data, more especially decile. So in our previous video, we worked on with quartile, and this time around, let us know what is decile. The deciles are the 9 score points that divide a distribution into 10 equal parts, like this. So this is the representation that we will be using when we talk of decile. Okay, this stands for decile, this one. That means to say this is decile 1, decile 2, decile 3, and so on up to decile 9, or the first decile, the second decile, and so on. So that is when we talk of decile. So let us try to analyze that diagram. So let's start working with the decile 1. Okay, when we talk of the decile 1, that means to say that 10%, this one, 10% of the distribution are below the first decile. And on the other hand, 20% of the distribution are below the second decile. On the third decile, 30% of the distribution are below. On the other hand, we have 40% of the distribution are below the fourth decile. Then on the fifth decile, we have 50% of the distribution are below. On the next one is 60% of the distribution are below the sixth decile. Then 70% of the distribution are below the seventh decile. Then we have this one, that 80% of the distribution are below the 8th decile. And the last is 90% of the distribution are below the 9th decile. So when we talk of decile, we will be using this formula. So this means decile sub k, or d sub k, is equal to k over 10 times the quantity n plus 1. This is over 10. So from our previous video all about quartile, this is just over 4 and this is just q. It's the same formula that we use. We just change this one to d and we just change this to 10. So there will be 10 formulas that we will be using coming from this formula. Ang decile 1 natin ay 1 over 10 times n plus 1. Decile 2, or the second decile, will be 2 over 10 times n plus 1. We just change the value of k here. So this become 1, 1, like this one, 2, 2 from this. Then the third decile is 3 over 10 times n plus 1. The fourth decile is 4 over 10 times n plus 1. The fifth one is 5 over 10 times n plus 1. The sixth decile is 6 over 10 times n plus 1. The seventh decile is 7 over 10 times n plus 1. And the eighth decile is equal to 8 over 10 times n plus 1. And the last is decile 9 is equal to 9 over 10 times n plus 1. So you will notice sa formula natin, ang pinapalitan lang natin ay yung k. So dahil decile 1, 1 yun, decile 2, 2, decile 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on. So let's have an examples. Find the second decile and seventh decile of the following test scores of 9 students: 22, 25, 6, 9, 12, 35, 18, 21, and 22. So the first thing that we need to work on is almost the same with quartile. Arrange the data in ascending orders. And this will be the ascending order. So 6, 9, 12, 18, 21, 22, 22. Kasi dalawa yung 22, 25, and 35. Then afterwards, we need to look for n. So ang n, kung ilan yung test score na binigay at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So therefore, n is 9. Then we look for the position of decile 1 since we're looking for the second decile. So gamit yung formulang pinakita kanina, that's 2 over 10 times the quantity n plus 1. Substitute natin yung n, which is 9. So 2 over 10, pinalitan yung n ng 9. So we have 9 plus 1, kaya magiging 10. So 2 over 10 times 10. 10 times 2 is 20, divide 10 is 2. So the position of the decile 2 is at the second data. So sa pangalawang data, naroon yung ating decile 2, 1 and 2. So ito ngayon yung ating magiging decile 2, which is equivalent to 9. Again, this is the position of the decile. Yung nakasolve nating computation galing sa formulang ito ay position or kung saan nakapwesto dito. So sa pangalawa, kaya 9 yung ating sagot. How about position of decile 7 or solve for decile 7? So uunahin natin alamin ang position of decile 7. So 7 over 10 times n plus 1. So n, 9 ulit. So we change that to 9. 9 plus 1. So magiging 10 na tayo doon. So 7 over 10 times 10. Then 7 times 10 is 70. Divide 10. That will be 7. So that means to say the position of decile 7 is at the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Therefore, 22 is the decile 7. So that is if when we work on with the position, exact yung nakukuha nating sagot. Paano kung magkaroon na ng decimal? So like quartile, we will be using the interpolation or the linear interpolation. So let's have another example. Example number 2. The scores of 15 students in grade 12 law in 25 item test are as follows: 12, 15, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 11, 23, 10, 22, 24, 19, 16, 18. Calculate the decile 4, decile 6, decile 7, and decile 9. So solving for this, so let us try to work that one at a time. So same process tayo kanina, arrange the data in ascending order. So ito na yung ascending order nitong given natin. So nai-arrange na natin ang ascending order. Ang n natin ay 15 kasi 15 yung data na binigay or 15 student yung ating pinag-uusapan. So let us try to work on with the position of decile 4. So we will be looking for the decile 4. So ibig sabihin dahil decile 4, 4 over 10 times n plus 1. So substitute natin ang n, which is 15 kasi yun yung n natin. So 15 plus 1. So kinokopya lang natin yan ha. So that will be 16. And 16 times 4 divide 10. That will be 6 and 4 tenths. Okay, so sana nagiget natin kasi 16 times 4, that will be 64. Divide 10 is 6 and 4 tenths. So as I have mentioned, hindi siya exact unlike kanina sa example. So gagamitan natin ng linear interpolation. Ang 6 and 4 tenths ay in between 6 and 7 data. So bilangin natin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 data. So ito yung 6 data, ito yung pang 7 data kasi nga 6.4 in between. Therefore, we need to subtract the 6 from the 7 data. Ibig sabihin 15 minus 12. So 15 minus 12, that will be 3. The next step is multiply the result to the decimal parts. The result natin ay 3. Decimal part natin ay 4 tenths. Okay, times 4 tenths. Pag minultiply, 1 and 2 tenths. So pag minultiply yung 3 times 4 tenths is 1 and 2 tenths. So third step, add the result in step 2 to the 6 data. Step 2, ito yung result. Then 6 data, ito yon, or yung lowest basta lagi dun sa dalawa, plus 12. Hence, the answer is 13 and 2 tenths. And that will be our decile 4. Okay, sana nagiget natin. Let's have the next one. How about decile 6? Since nakuha na natin ang decile 4, decile 6 tayo. Decile 6. Ano nga yung formula kapag ito yung ginamit natin? Magiging ano to? 6 over 10? Okay, very good. 6 over 10 times n plus 1. So, n uli, 15 pa rin. Substitute natin dun sa n. So, 15 plus 1, that will be 16. So, 6 times 16 divide 10. 16 times 6 is 96 divide 10 is 9 and 6 tenths. So, ibig sabihin, in between the 9th data and 10th data, so in between 9th and 10th data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, ito yung dalawang yon. So, ibig sabihin, yun yung ating pag-uusapan when we apply the interpolation approach. So, ima-minus natin yan as the first step. So, 10 data minus 9 data. So, 18 minus 16. That will be equal to 2. Then, multiply the result to the decimal part. Ang result natin ay 2. Decimal part is 6 tenths. Then, that will be equal to 1 and 2 tenths. Pag multiply ang 2 times 6 tenths is 1 and 2 tenths. Then, the third one is add the result in the step 2 to the 9 data. Ito yung step 2 result. 9 data. Ito tayo, basta yung mababa sa dalawa, plus 16. So, the answer is 17 and 2 tenths. Therefore, our decile 6 is 17 and 2 tenths. How about decile 7? So, decile 7, ano ang magiging position of decile 7 formula? Obviously, it's 7 over 10. So, times n plus 1 and substitute again n, which is 15. So, yun, pinalitan na natin, which is 15. Add uli natin, that will be 16. Then, 7 times 16, that will be 112. Divide 10, that will be 11 and 2 tenths. So, that means to say, ang ating position ay in between the 11th and the 12th data. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So, ibig sabihin, narito siya sa dalawang yon. So, using the interpolation, subtract natin ng 19 minus 18. So, yun yung 11 data at saka yung 12 data, and that will be 1. Then, multiply the result, which is 1, times the decimal parts, which is 2 tenths. That will be equal to 2 tenths pa rin. So, let's have the next one. Add the result in the step 2. Ito yon. Tapos, yung mababa dito, which is 18. Or the answer is 18 and 2 tenths. Therefore, our decile 7 is 18 and 2 tenths. Let's have another example. How about if we will be looking for the decile 9? So what is the position of decile 9? So obviously that will be equal to 9 over 10 since we're looking for 9 position. So n is 15, so we substitute that. So we have this 15 plus 1, that will be 16. So times 9 divide 10, that will be equal to 14 and 4 tenths. So 16 times 9 is 144. When you divide that by 10, that will be 14 and 4 tenths. Hence, the position of decile 9 is between 14 and 15 data. So, yung pang-14 at pang-15 data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, ito ngayon yung ating magiging 14 and 15 data gamit ang linear interpolation. So, we need to work on with subtracting this one, 24 minus 23, and that will be equal to 1. So, then multiply the result, which is 1, times the decimal part, which is 4 tenths. That will be equal to 4 tenths also. Then the last part is to add the result in step 2. Ito yung result ng step 2 times lowest dun sa dalawa plus 23. Therefore, the answer is 23 and 4 tenths. And that will be our decile 9. 23 and 4 tenths. So, I hope natuto tayo kamato class sa paghanap ng decile. God bless us.